Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. I am so excited to have Tina Barr today because this is a topic that we really haven't covered yet, but I know many people that have made a lot of money with it, and it's e-commerce. So Tina, why don't we start by you just introducing yourself?
Sure. So my name's Tina, and I am an e-commerce coach and strategist. So what that means is I help people at every stage of the journey. So whether you're just thinking of starting a product-based business and aren't sure where to begin, to those who are established and maybe are selling at shows or already have an online business and are just stuck and aren't really sure how to scale to the next level. So I help you through that journey.
And I take it for granted because I know what e-commerce is and you know what e-commerce is, but why don't we define what that is real quick?
Yeah, sure. That's actually a great question. So e-commerce is just the idea of selling products online. So that can be interpreted a bunch of ways. So mostly we think of having your own online store. So I usually work with people that use the Shopify platform, but it could also mean having an Etsy shop. It could mean selling through marketplaces like Amazon or eBay. Some people now just have a TikTok shop or sell through Instagram stories. So all of that would fall under the umbrella of e-commerce.
I love that. And so tailoring this to moms who maybe have little ones at home, so they don't want to go to work, but they want to be able to do something and make some money so that they're not reliant on somebody else, and or maybe they need to make money. So what would you recommend getting started to those people that are thinking, maybe I need to do something and I'm not sure what?
Totally. So there's different schools of thought on this. I'm a big fan of, I think if you're going to do this long term, it should be a product that you're passionate about. Some people will say, no, it should be something you're totally not passionate about. You should sell, I don't know, brooms or something really boring. But if you love to make things, that's a great place to start. Like if you love to sew, if you're a soap maker, if you're a jewelry maker, I think that's always a good place to start because then you can marry things that you enjoy and make it a fun part of your day. So that's where I would start. What do you enjoy? And then from there, there's two paths. Like, do you want to be a reseller? Do you want to buy things wholesale and do you want to resell them? Or do you want to be a maker and sell things that you make?
That is a good way to start. I mean, that's an important question to ask. I knew this one lady that she was clearing out her garage and just started selling things before you knew it. She sold wooden blocks. Did you hear about this? Where she sold wooden blocks, like blank, like go get a 2x4 and just cut the blocks, right? And she sold so many for Mother's Day that she ended up being able to pay cash for her minivan. And I'm like,
that's amazing. And I think that's a great example too of sometimes it really doesn't need to be that complicated. And actually selling supplies is a great way to get started. So again, like let's say you're a sewer, you don't have to sell bolts of fabric, but maybe you just do the work that people don't want to do, like cutting it into squares for quilting, or maybe you sort things into kits so it's easy for somebody to make the final product. You don't always need to sell the final product. You just need to figure out what's the problem that you're solving. And sometimes selling wooden blocks is solving a really big problem. Who knew, right?
They break the wood and they put it on their mantle. That's a genius idea. Okay, so say that I know what I want to, I'm going to sell these blocks, right? And so now what do I do? Where do I go?
Yeah, so I think the first step is to get what we call proof of concept. And proof of concept is just a really fancy way of saying, can you sell this to somebody that's not your mom, not your best friend, not your next door neighbor? Can you sell this to a stranger? And so I always recommend starting with marketplaces in that way. So that could be as simple as putting it up on Facebook Marketplace. It could be posting it in maybe mom groups that you're in, or opening an Etsy shop. Just really simple, and see, is there really demand for this product? And if you can get a couple of orders from strangers, then I think you're well on your path to having a business.
Okay, that's good. So what would you say is the most important marketing channel?
So the most important marketing channel is going to be your email list. And so that's one that a lot of people get kind of intimidated by and scared of. So I hear a lot of things like, well, I collect emails, but I don't want to bother people and or I don't know what to say. And I think if you can do social media, if you can make an Instagram post, if you can take a picture on your phone, then you can send an email, right? So emails don't have to be big, complicated newsletters. They just have to be a picture, a little bit of text, and what we call a call to action. So something for them to click on to tell them where they can buy it. And that it's simple as that. But if you collect emails, you are what I like to call like building friends at scale, right? So these are all your friends. You now have their email address and you can tell them, hey, I made this super cool new thing. Come check it out. It's ready for you to buy. It's a lot harder to do that on, say, social media, because social media is all cluttered up with everybody else's offers and dog pictures and, vacation photos and things like that. So it gets a lot harder to get found.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so now we found our product. We've figured out, we have our email list. We figured out how we're going to, if we're going to use Etsy or Facebook Marketplace or whatever else. And things are going well, right? What would be the next step that you'd recommend?
Yeah. So once you have that proof of concept, once you have a couple of orders on whatever marketplace, you don't want to stay there for a couple of reasons. One, you have no control over it. They could shut it down tomorrow, or your account could get hacked, or, there's a whole bunch of things that can go wrong. Plus, the fees are usually really expensive. So it's hard to make that a profitable selling channel. But it's a good way to get started. So from there, I recommend opening a Shopify store. And so the reason I promote Shopify is because they're built for e-commerce. That's all they do. And so they have all the tools built in, they have all the integrations, they have great training. Some people, I know a lot of people who start on like Squarespace or WooCommerce, which is the WordPress version. So those are all the different tech platforms you can choose from. But the problem is those aren't made for e-commerce. And so as you scale your business, you're going to run into trouble. So it's much better to just start with the right platform.
How many items would you recommend somebody have in their store?
So that's a good question. And I think that really depends on what you sell. So I know people who have amazing businesses that essentially sell one product. One person that I worked with, I helped her set up her store actually, and she makes bath bombs for kids. So the bath bomb has like a little toy inside. And so it's essentially a one product store. That's all she sells. She doesn't sell bubble bath or I don't know, washcloths or anything like that. It's just bath bombs, but they come with different toys. And so there's a couple different variants. So sometimes just keeping it simple or selling wooden blocks. She only has one product. So you don't necessarily have to make it complicated, but you can have hundreds or thousands of products too. Just know that with that comes more complexity, like inventory management. Where are you going to store all this stuff? How are you going to keep track of when someone orders it? Where are you going to find it? Do you have the right size box? That just opens up a whole lot more questions.
Okay, I didn't even think about that. So what do you do then? Because I know
Yes, that's a good question. Yeah. So I work with usually women, a lot of times moms, who either have the idea to start a business and they just sort of feel overwhelmed and stuck, right? It's like this big dream idea, but they don't know what their first step or their second step should be. And they just need someone to handhold them through that process. So that's one type of client that I work with. And I work one-on-one with them and figure out, okay, where is it you want to go? And how are we going to get there? What are the steps? And then there's other clients who come to me who, let's say, have really big success at in-person shows, like they do a bunch of pop-ups, or they've had great success on Etsy, or even on their own site. And they're just like, I feel like something's missing. I want to grow, but it just feels stagnant and stuck, and I don't know what's missing. And so from there, we also work one-on-one, but then I use more advanced strategies. Like, let's look at your advertising, let's look at your email marketing, and figure out what the right approach for them is to scale their business.
I love that because You could have the best product, but a mentor, we always talk about the hook, the story, or the offer, right? And if you don't have
Mhm.
all of those, and then once you do, it's like, okay, great. Now what? Now how do I get out there? And I think that, we have these passion projects or we have these products that we want, and you work so hard to create them and develop them, and then nobody knows about it. Like how, I'm a realtor, right? And so
Mhm.
it's like, I'm a great realtor, but if nobody knows who I am, then I'm not going to be able to make a difference. And I think it's the same thing with your products. And so hiring somebody like you as a coach, to me, is a no-brainer. It just makes sense. And I'm sure,
Yeah,
right?
and well, yeah, and I see my clients make so much progress, and it's not a lot of times what I say is it's
Mhm.
also sort of at that intersection of life coaching and business coaching, because you can hire business consultants who will tell you, oh, do this, install that app, and well, and then you just get overwhelmed like,
Mhm.
what does all that mean, right? And sometimes what it is, I find it's not that you don't know what to do, is that there's some underlying fear or something holding you back. And having a safe place, a safe person to talk about that with is actually what people need more than me telling them the marketing advice. Sometimes they already know what they need to
Yeah.
do. We need to get to like, why are you afraid of this? And sometimes it's because you have people in your life that say, oh, how's your little hobby doing, even though you have a $500,000 business. I've had that conversation with people. Or it's like, well, I didn't go to school to be a designer. Who do I think I am to design clothes? And it's like, well, you don't have to go to school for that. And sometimes you just need somebody to help you work through those mental blocks. And once you get past that, all of a sudden I see their marketing just do so much better because they're more confident in their abilities. And so that's another piece that I bring to the table that maybe some other coaches or mentors wouldn't.
That's a really good point that you make, because a lot of times we're taught, oh, you have to go to school and get a 4-year degree in interior design, or you have to get a 4-year degree in marketing, or you have to get like, did you know they have an entrepreneurial bachelor degree now? And it's like, okay, and I think it's great, but you're going to spend $150,000 to go get, or more or less, whatever, because I'm a huge proponent of education, but I've realized is you've done it. You've been in the trenches. And a lot of these professors, I used to be one, they're removed from where it used, like what reality is and what's happening because they're teaching all the time. And so hiring somebody like you who works with many other entrepreneurs as well, you see what's working for some of these industries and you see what's not working. And so you have that expertise that a lot of people, like, why would they not go to you and hire you?
Right, exactly. And the other thing I say is, like I understand it from the inside because I also run my own e-commerce store and I don't make it my full-time job because really my why and my mission is to help other people, but I do need that store because then I know exactly what you're feeling. I know exactly how you feel when you have a great month or when you have a down month. I know exactly how to deal with shipping problems or inventory issues and suppliers, all the ins and outs of the business, which I think you're exactly right at that level of academia, which like I have my master's. I went to school for many years too.
Yeah.
So I've been there. I understand. It's a lot of theory. And I think also at that level, entrepreneurship, business, marketing are taught for principles that apply for very large budgets.
Yeah.
And they're great if you're working at a giant company where you are in the marketing department and all the other departments support each other. When you're a solopreneur, you are the legal team, you are the
It's true.
accounting department, you are the marketing department, you're the buyer, the CEO, the CFO, you're everything. And so taking what you learn in school and trying to do that as a solo business is almost impossible. Like you have to scale it down and figure out, what do I need as a person and what does the business need right now and where do those intersect?
And I think that that's why coaching is like skyrocketed, because people are like, you know what, if you're going to hold my hand and lead me every step of the way, and you really do that, because I've hired coaches that say that and never did that. So we won't talk about that. But if you really do that, then it's very interesting how you can be so much more successful and much faster, and I think that that's why so many, because education, colleges become so expensive. And so now you can just skyrocket much faster.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Have a question for you. There's a term out there called digital clutter, right? And so what is it and how can it hurt e-commerce businesses?
Yeah, so this is something I've actually been exploring and kind of gotten passionate about recently. And it's because I've worked with a lot of businesses, business owners who have been in business a long time. And part of it, which is very normal, is you end up doing a lot of pivots, right? Maybe you start making one thing and then the pandemic happens and you start making masks. And then you're like, okay, masks is over. Now I got to make the next thing.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, just like in your house, how your house gets cluttered. And we have all these decluttering your home kind of courses and classes and TV shows on Netflix and books. What I found is there's no equivalent for business owners. And what I realized is business owners have the same problem. Sometimes your business just has too much clutter. And what I mean by that is there's digital clutter where you're searching for the next guru or expert to help, the next course is going to get me there. One more Facebook ads course and everything's going to change, right? One more real estate conference and all of a sudden I'll have the entire network that I need, right? We're always looking for the next thing. But what happens is our social media feeds, our inbox, everything becomes all these marketing messages, and you don't take any action because you're completely overwhelmed by the clutter of messages coming your way. So one thing I really recommend is taking time once in a while and saying, is this really what I'm looking for? Is this the solution I want? What is it I really need? And asking trusted people for recommendations versus just going with all the ads that are coming at you and all the messages that are coming at you. And then the next part of it, so it's kind of a three-part thing with clutter in your business. The next part is the physical clutter. And that goes back to all those pivots that we do, is a lot of us have a garage full of boxes of inventory that's old, or maybe in our closet. And we always think, well, maybe one day it'll sell. Like someone will buy that thing, right? But it's actually holding us back. First, cash flow wise, because that's all money that's tied up in product that's not cycling through our business. But it's also another form of mental clutter. Like you're looking at all your quote unquote mistakes and problems and things that didn't work in your business, and it's holding you back from moving forward into the next stage. And so we need to do the work of selling those off, donating them, whatever it takes to focus on where you are and where you want to go. And then the last part is what I call the mental clutter. And again, that's like those stories that we tell ourselves, going back to the university thing. Well, I didn't study this. Who am I to be successful in this space? Or family members or friends who don't understand what we're doing and aren't supportive, or just things that are holding us back from being as successful as we could be.
You called me on the carpet. It's so true. Like in the last 4 days, I can't even see my computer screen. Like I have so many icons that have stacked up because I've been doing so much work and just clicking and then save to desktop. And before I knew it, because I work on 2 different screens, that's why I look up sometimes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have got to get through this and delete, because it's not supposed to stay there, first of all. But that is so true in so many parts of our life. And why do we hang on to it? And I am the biggest proponent of education, but I've watched, like we become, if you buy one course, well, now this one must work and this one, or if this doesn't work, because you lose focus, because it's kind of that, what's the movie where it's squirrel,
Yeah. Squirrel brain. Yeah.
And so we, as entrepreneurs, we start to get bored. And so we go to something else, and then we go to something else. And so this year was my year. It's my theme of just implementation. It's implementation. So I keep having my friends like, hey, Sharice, there's this new course or there's this conference. I'm like, implementation. I've grounded myself. My checkbook is closed and I'm focusing on making sure that we implement. And so following up with things that we do, making sure that you don't look for something else because the grass is not greener. You just need to make sure that this one works. And so, you as a coach, it's like only focus on my program and don't do anything else. And let's get you where you want to go. And once that's done, they always talk about you build up one and then you can go to the next pillar. And so,
Yeah, exactly. Because the skills stack on top of each other.
Mhm.
And like the most common example I see is with like either Instagram courses or Facebook courses, that those are really common. And so it's like, well, if you're going to follow one person's methodology for Instagram, then okay, fine. Then really learn reels, experiment, track your metrics, but you can't do that one and at the same time do two other courses that give you contradictory information, because all of a sudden you don't know what's working or not working. You've confused yourself, you're frustrated, and you spend a lot of money on this. So, yeah.
The course is free. Just come to my webinar, or it's only $7. Well, that $7, I promise you, they're using a funnel. They're going to upsell you to this $47. And before you know it, it's $197. And then you're buying a $25,000 course. I've studied this for 3 years. That's how it works. And so they grab you in and then they try to upsell you and upsell you. And so it's, yes, focus on the one. Only the one.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other part of that for me is, well, is Instagram really the problem that your business needs help with right now? Or is that just like a shiny object? Because maybe the problem in your business is your margins aren't good enough, or maybe the problem is you don't have enough repeat customers. And so that's where I come in, where I'm like, okay, let's work together and really understand all facets of your business, how it's unique. And then I can tell you, okay, I really think you need to work on this area. Let's find you the right course. If you like learning through courses, if you need one-on-one help, let's find you the right one-on-one person. It might not be me, but I have a whole list of people that are my like preferred vendors that I've worked with and that I know are trustworthy and aren't going to try to upsell you a bunch of other things. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. And you work one-on-one with people, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I think it's really important to work one-on-one. That's usually the biggest gap in the market. And for me, I haven't found a way to make a really one size fits all solution. And it just doesn't work for me. I like to get to know people. I like to support them in more than one way. And, I think, also being an entrepreneur is super lonely. Like
Yeah.
it's nice to talk to somebody, like we all need that. Like, does anybody really need to sit in front of Zoom for the next 10 hours plus whatever hours the bonuses are that you just bought? Every time I see a course that comes with 30 hours of content, I'm like, I could get a lot of work done in that amount of time.
I know. And before you know it, it's 6 months later and you haven't done any because you bought.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fantastic. And what I love is that, I mean, ladies and gents, I'm just going to tell you, because I know there's men watching and listening as well, that when you have a coach that's willing to take you by the hand and work one-on-one with you, I would run and accept that hand, because I am serious. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching, and it's these pre-recorded calls and you can't get a hold of them if you have a question. And now what do you do? Right. And so if you find somebody like Tina, I would highly recommend that you call her and talk with her if you're wanting to grow your e-commerce business. So Tina, how do people find you if they're interested?
Yeah, sure. So they can find me on my website. It's tinabarr.com, and I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes. And then I do have a free resource. So I've actually created a private podcast. So it just means that you have to give an email address to get access, but you don't have to pay anything. And it's me interviewing a bunch of the experts that I talk to. So some of them are clients, some of them are experts in their fields in e-commerce. And it's just kind of like a peek behind the curtain at things that I think are important to strengthening your e-commerce mindset. And so if you listen to a few of those episodes and you feel like I'm still the right person for you, then reach out and we'll have an intro call. But I felt like it was important to have people get a chance to get to know me that wasn't like a sales call. So that was my solution for that, because I do only have capacity to work with so many clients at a time.
Right. Absolutely. Because you're doing it one-on-one.
Yeah.
All right. So we have to go to the mom side for a minute. What is a piece of advice that you have for moms who are entrepreneurs?
That's a great one.
Juggling
So
that.
I'm a mom. I have 2 kids, and one thing that I really realized, I used to struggle with I'm putting my kids in front of the iPad so I can go do this work call or do something, or go ship orders. And then one day, was years ago, but my little one was maybe like 3 or 4, and he came to me and he said, "I want to play post office." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so he made a whole post office with stamps and all the things. And then my husband was like, told my husband, I was like, "Oh, isn't this cute? He wants to play post office." And he's like, "Tina, you know what he's doing. He's copying you. He's modeling you, because you go to the post office every day to ship your packages, and you have your office and your fulfillment in the house." And I was like, "Oh, wow. Like, I don't need to feel guilty. I'm modeling entrepreneurship for my kids, like at a really young age." And so it really helped me flip how I think about it, to I'm feeling bad, to, oh, I'm teaching my kids really important life skills, and like that this is possible.
I love that. That's such a cute story. Does he help you now address the packages or put the
Oh yeah, he loves to. Yeah, he like, I have the Dymo label printer. He puts the box on the scale and puts the stickers on. And my older one is a middle schooler now, and he's actually learning how to edit my podcast. So he loves the tech. So he's learning how to do the editing software. But they want to do entrepreneurial jobs by watching me. They don't have a dream of going into an office. They don't know what that looks like.
That is so cool. Good for you. That is what an amazing accomplishment that you've done. So that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I think any mom can do that. So sometimes it's like letting go of the guilt and thinking about, okay, how can I involve my kids in this and make it fun for them and make it something that they'll be excited about.
That's good. And the last question, what is a golden nugget you have for people that entrepreneurs? What have you learned that you wish you would have known when you started?
Oh yeah. That it's a never-ending journey. But that's the thing. Like, you're always learning. And if you're the type of person who loves to learn and loves new challenges, then this is the perfect path for you. If you like things to have a beginning and an end and be tied up with a bow, then don't go this path, because it will drive you crazy. But if you can enjoy where you are and enjoy the learning, then it will be an amazing journey and worth doing.
Great advice. Well, Unbreakable Mompreneurs, we have yet another episode that we have completed. And if you would like to reach out to Tina, then please do at the information below. And otherwise, go out and make it a fantastic day. See you later. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Sharice Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Sharice Walker.